words or anything, at this point, I can't do anything to him. I know, the God put the ability and the power within me to not even think about nobody else's comments, not care. It is what it is. I spoke with him. He said, nah, but that wasn't. He said that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He was like, nah, but that wasn't that. I see how they trying to stand. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm not tripping. Regardless of whatever it was, nobody's words or anything affects me.
That's Shedeur talking about Dillon Gabriel in the comments that everybody's trying to make a thing, even if they're not a thing. Yahoo Sports Daily, Caroline Fenton, Jason Fitz. We're going to run through the North, and I do mean run. We're going to get our Fenton and Fitz 4 points that we're going to go through from the AFC North. And let's start with Shedeur right there. Okay, so what do you think, Caroline, of his response to the way that he handled what we continue to try and make a controversy between these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think that if Shedeur wanted to make this a bigger deal than it already has been, it was the number one story coming out of the second week of preseason. He could have, right? He could have, but he didn't. He just kind of, to me, completely extinguished any flame that there was. Look, words can't hurt me. We're moving on from it. I do think if there was anything that I would nitpick from what he had to say there, because it was a very mature and a good answer, would have said, hey, Dillon and I are good. We're friends. We're all good. We're all supportive in the quarterback room. Again, I'm not going to nitpick it. Shedeur, I think, has shown a level of maturity that maybe we all and maybe some general managers in the NFL wanted to see from him at Colorado. But all you can ask for is growth, that all you can ask for is learning from maybe some situations that weren't your best or your brightest in your past. So I think that Shedeur handled this with a great level of maturity and grace.
Or a level of Shedurity, as it were. Browns, stop putting one or the other out in front of a mic. Just stop. Cleveland, stop it. Put Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders out in front of a mic at the same time. You have the power to do it. Do it. Don't give individual availability. Let them speak together at everything so we just stop this madness. All right. You saw the tweet a second ago. Joe Flacco is going to start this weekend, but Shedeur will play. All right. So any shot in your mind that he plays his way into QB2?
No, and that's okay, right? It's okay. He doesn't need to play his way into QB2. And me saying no is nothing of an indictment of Shedeur, nor is it an indictment of Dillon Gabriel. It is more so in support of everything that Kevin Stefanski has said and everything that he has done, that they don't think that either of these quarterbacks are ready. So it is going to be Kenny Pickett as the backup quarterback, again, assuming that he is healthy, and that Joe Flacco is going to be the starter, that they want to protect their young quarterbacks as long as they possibly can, especially when the first 6 to 7 weeks of their schedule is an absolute gauntlet. So no, I don't think that he has the opportunity to do that right now because he shouldn't, and because the Browns don't want to rush them.
Caroline, I will admit I am a frustrating friend for many of my friends. Why am I a frustrating friend? Because we're all sitting around, everybody's having some drinks and somebody will start talking like, oh, I think this guy played on this record. Or I remember that actor was on this. And I'm the guy that rather than spend 10 minutes having a conversation about it, I just Google it. I just look it up. And I'm like, all right, got the answer. I ruin speculative talk sometimes. And I know that makes me boring. But if you've been listening to this show since we started for 2 weeks, it's been pretty clear. The 4 quarterbacks that the Cleveland Browns are going to carry into the season are in the order they're going to be of some sort. Like number 1 and number 2 are set. I don't believe there's anything that will happen this weekend that will change the fact that Joe Flacco's 1, Kenny Pickett is 2, and then Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are 3 and 4. And I don't really care what order they're in because, frankly, if you get to your third string quarterback, no matter what's happening, things have gone awry throughout the course of your season. So here's what we know. It'll be 1, Joe Flacco, 2, Kenny Pickett, 3, 4 will be the rookies in some order. I know that's not a sexy take. It's not a hot take. And I'd make a lot more money in this business if I would come out and scream about what an injustice it is to one of these guys. But this has always been the way. It will be the way. And nothing's going to change that throughout the course of the rest of the season. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's see where we are on this. This is big news. Lamar Jackson, he was injured, but, no big deal. That's what we thought. No big deal. But it sounds like it could be a little bit of a big deal because if you're looking at some of the social media reaction here, it feels like there is some concern. Ravens coach John Harbaugh, prayers do get answered. He said Lamar Jackson is fine after getting stepped on, got an x-ray to be sure. Prayers do get answered. I think that quote, Caroline, has people freaking out. How freaked out are we right now about Lamar?
I'm not too freaked out about that quote because it sounds like everything's okay, right? And wasn't everyone just kind of holding on to their breath and living on a prayer that Lamar Jackson was going to be okay? So if John Harbaugh is saying prayers do get answered, then that means he's okay. At least that was my interpretation of the quote. Maybe I'm wrong. Look, I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. If everything is not 100% hunky-dory, all prayers have been answered with Lamar Jackson, then a prayer is going to be all you got this year, Ravens fans. Because I don't think that the Ravens are going to be a playoff team if Lamar Jackson is not quarterbacking this Ravens team. And look, it is a stacked roster. They've got an insane defense. That secondary is nasty and has the ability to be one of the best units in all of the National Football League. But Lamar Jackson isn't a 2-time MVP and probably could have been 3-time MVP for nothing. It's because he is more important to his football team than any other player in the National Football League. And if you take him away from that team, they're a wildly different team. But overall, I interpret the quote as a good thing for Lamar Jackson.
I did until we saw those Shefty quotes that you see there where it's like, hey, if Lamar Jackson's foot injury is scarier, is the question, because he came out and said, hey, if it's nothing, then you don't need a prayer to be answered. And Shefty's sort of just putting out these little tasty treats that are making everybody think there's an issue, which Lamar is laughing at. I don't know. Like, Shefty's not one to come out and just manufacture things. That's not who he is as a person or a reporter. So it just made me a little nervous yesterday when Shefty started hey, if it was nothing, then why were the Ravens needing a prayer to be answered? I see both sides to this. Look, I don't think that any of us are sitting here wildly concerned, but we also know the NFL. Like, I'd love to make a blanket statement today that this means nothing. But how often do we see at the end of a season somebody will go in and say, well, I had these 4 injuries and I'm going to go ahead and get surgery now. We just didn't really tell you guys about it. Over the course of the season, these guys take so much damage to their body. I'm not concerned. But also, if we see Lamar and he doesn't look like himself at all, which I hope isn't the case for the first month of the season, will we not at least be concerned about whether or not this foot injury is worse than we thought? All eyes will continue to be on Lamar. Let's talk about one more injury. T. Higgins, ankle injury at practice. He was evaluated. He returned. I don't know, Caroline. Like, I'm a little concerned about this because the Bengals without T, they're 5-8 during his career without him. Like, it looks like a different offense without T. Higgins. He needs to be 100% of himself for that team with that trash defense to have any shot.
And if he's not, that's concerning for the Bengals because no, he's not Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is going to be their number one go-to guy. But with no T. Higgins, then you're just going to double and triple Jamar Chase. And then what happens to this passing game? And then if this passing game sputters, how else are you going to win football games in Cincinnati? Because the Bengals right now are designed to win games 38-35, 41-38. That if the over-under on a Bengals game is 100, you probably hammer the over. Because offense is the only way that this team is going to win games. And this offense is not the same without T. Higgins. So I hope that everything is okay. I hope that he's still able to be out there and as close to 100% as possible. Because if he's not, then you just continue to waste Joe Burrow's prime, exactly how the Bengals did last year with as miserable of a defense as they had.
It feels like there's one common thread in these injuries that we've discussed that hopefully mean nothing for the Ravens and the Bengals. And that common thread is that these are two teams that are hanging on by a thread. There are certain guys you just can't lose. Lamar is one of them. There's certain guys I don't think the Bengals can lose because, to your point, the way they've constructed any wiggle room that the Bengals lack, they lack because of their own roster construction and the way that they have built this thing defensively. But it's enough certainly to make Bengals fans nervous